All right, we're live.
All set?
We're live.
So we're- the mic's not on.
Oh, sorry.
Good evening, everyone. The date is Tuesday, June 3rd. The time is 6:06 p.m. And this is the training committee for the Community Police Commission, and we are located at our office at 3631 Perkins Avenue. So my name is John Adams. I am co-chair of the commission. And so what we'll do is we will start by calling the meeting to order. Commissioner Miller,
Present.
Commissioner Mason,
Present.
and Commissioner Chura is not here. He's absent. And then the next item on the agenda will be the selection of a chair pro tem. I'm willing to serve in that capacity again for this meeting.
Do I second that?
So I give a motion for,
I raised a motion for you to serve as pro tem for this
Okay.
year.
is there a
I
second?
second it.
All right, so we'll take the vote. Commissioner Miller
Yes.
and Commissioner Mason.
Aye.
All right, thank you. I still don't have any voting authority. All right, okay, so we will, I would assume that, do we have unanimous consent to just adopt the agenda as is?
Yes.
And before we get started, I will read our policy on meeting disruptions. Which I should already have out. All right, so this meeting of the Cleveland Community Police Commission is a lawful meeting under section 605.04 of the codified ordinances. No person with purpose to prevent or disrupt a lawful meeting shall do any act which obstructs or interferes with the due conduct of such meeting. Members of the public are invited to speak in accordance with the public comment rules. Disruptions, including but not limited to speaking out of turn and or making loud utterances that interferes with the due conduct of this lawful meeting, may constitute a misdemeanor and a violation of section 605.04. If this meeting is disrupted, I will call for a recess and the room will be clear. Persons who violate the city ordinances and commit misdemeanors may be subject to prosecution. When this body is able to return from recess, then in compliance with Ohio Open Meeting Act and section 101.021 of the codified ordinances, the meeting will be open to the public. So, read that. And so the next thing on the agenda will be public comment. I don't know if anybody has public comment. I don't think anybody signed up. So we'll move that along. All right, so for the public, the main purpose of this meeting is to to get this committee's affairs in order. We are finally starting to meet regularly, and so now what we want to do is be able to really focus more on the work of the committee for the commission. So what we'll have today is we'll have a presentation by the police department. We have representatives from Internal Affairs, and they'll kind of like walk us through some of the trainings that we have. And then once we're done with that, we'll ask questions and we'll talk about these trainings, and then we'll move on to basically prioritizing the work for the committee. But you want to come on out?
You want to come
Introduce yourself. Yeah.
Go. You guys can sit down, you can grab a mic.
Okay.
So good evening. My name is Jennifer Meyer. I am the Superintendent of Internal Affairs.
And I am Lieutenant Justin Syke. I'm the officer in charge of internal affairs.
The reason why we came before you today is that we have two separate trainings that we would like approved so we can get credit for it with a consent decree. The first one is Digal LLC. This is a training program that we already do. It's an online program. I believe you do have access to the program. And Lieutenant Syka is going to take you a little bit through it a little bit more. I'm just going to give you a brief overview. So we currently do this, and when I spoke to Assistant Chief Boston from the monitoring team, she suggested that we give this to you to review so we can actually get credit for all the training that our sergeants, lieutenant, and myself do monthly for Internal Affairs Unit. The second that is in front of you is from the Savage Group, and that is a company that we want to do business with. Lieutenant Syka actually reached out to Savage, which is a company out of California, and they create internal affairs specific training. And then they would create a module specific to Cleveland Police Internal Affairs. And then we would be able to have that and utilize that for several years. So I'm going to give it to Lieutenant Syka to go into better detail.
Yeah, so if we're going to start with the Daigle Law Group, which is the DLG training, that's our targeted web-based training center that allows for us to assign targeted trainings on a monthly basis. I know Commissioner Adams, we had brief conversations regarding access to that. If you log into your account, we actually received notice yesterday that we actually had more trainings in there that we weren't privy to at the time, but they've been added. So that's anything that ranges from use of force training, internal investigative training, leadership training. And again, when we're talking about the settlement agreement and specifically in paragraph 181, it does require us to train, the training is required for quality, quantity, and scope. So we figure that the DLG training will assist us in getting compliance with that paragraph for quantity and scope. So again, if you have the account up on your laptop, you can go to the sort the topics, and it'll tell you all the different trainings that we have. So we have de-escalation training for supervisors. We have performance management. We have science-based interview for uses of force investigations. And that's just to name a few. But the reason that those are relevant to the internal affairs function is because the force investigation team also lives within the internal affairs unit. So again, me and the superintendent will assign these trainings on a monthly basis to our investigators that will assist us in ultimately gaining compliance if the commission approves it, as well as the monitoring team and the DOJ. So I can answer any questions relative to DLG right now, or if you want to talk about that first.
Do you want to ask questions now?
Well, excuse me.
No, well, I think, okay, so,
I think in general, we had a few questions.
Okay.
So I think, Commissioner Miller, we talked about it.
At the
I
end.
guess we were, as we're reviewing, because we started viewing the videos.
Mhm.
So you answered one of the questions, which is like where in the consent decree it would be paragraph 181.
Mhm.
But I think we had some questions about sort of like as we're watching the videos. I think one of our questions was, is this just something that the officers will view and then there's like a certificate or something they get at the end?
Yeah, so
Or is there a part of it where, because I found it to be informational.
Mhm.
So like, the information's there, but then as a teacher, I'm like, well, how do we measure if honestly, I'm thinking I have to answer questions or something.
Mhm.
So like, if I just wanted to get it over with, I could just play it and then
Yeah.
go do something and not, there's no checking. So I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, to grade their
Yeah.
comprehension of the material. So that's not how this learning center is designed. There is modules that you have to complete to get to the next module, but at the end of it, you do obtain a certification in that specific topic. But what we're saying in terms of the DLG, remember there's multiple layers to the internal affairs training. quality, quantity, and scope. We have to have a basic internal affairs course, which you guys have approved in the past. And then we have to have the annual internal affairs training, which is what we're going to talk about relative to Savage. But these are more so informational. It's about case law updates, national best practices of what's going on. So we're not necessarily concerned with the comprehension or I guess the grading of, like, as long as our supervisors are doing those trainings, we figure that there's something meaningful that they're going to get out of them. And it's not so much, we have other aspects of the training that are going to grade their comprehension of the specific trainings they're doing. This is just one avenue to getting compliance with that paragraph for the decree.
So this would be more of the scope, maybe?
Commissioner, the other thing too is that while, yes, there aren't, a few questions at the end of each module to make sure that somebody watched it or whatnot. I mean, we have so many trainings that we do. We have, this, the large trainings with FIT, and we have the yearly internal affairs unit. We have all those, and those are graded. The other thing too is we utilize the skills that we learn from these on a daily basis. Our sergeants are the main focus of these sergeants is to investigate these cases and to write lengthy reports. And so they are utilizing the information that they get when they do their investigations, when they bring in officers for Garrity, when they're talking to witnesses. And sometimes a lot of these modules are refresher courses for what they've already learned in the years prior.
I just have one more question. So could an officer, or I guess this training we're looking at is like a supervisor, could they be held accountable for information that's in this training? So say, for example, like the officers receive information that's in this training. There's no assessment, there's no check for understanding, but if an officer does something, is it possible that an officer, I'm just trying to get to, if it's just informational, I'm just trying to get at, would there ever be a scenario where someone could say to an officer in terms of accountability, well, that was in this module that you viewed, and so therefore you're going to be held accountable. Is that ever going to be possible?
I can think just in my previous life as an attorney who worked in this realm, if an officer ends up getting sued down the road, and then they pull up all of their trainings that they've done and they've listed all of them, and the attorneys on each side go through each module and see exactly what they trained, and then they could be asked, didn't you sit through this training? Isn't that what you learned? So potentially, yes, they could do that, but it would be a very lengthy list at this point of all the trainings that officers take each year.
Okay, I guess that's a little bit of concern for me, because it seems that there's a way for these trainings to not even really be viewed, but then if they're going to be held accountable for it, I wouldn't want the officer to be in that type of situation where because they're going to get they're going to get like a certification, right?
Mm-hmm.
So once they get the certification, it's like vouching for the information, but then if we didn't really check to see if they actually got all the information and we just gave them, I don't know, I just feel like that makes the officers a little bit vulnerable.
I understand what you're saying, Dr. Anderson. However, I do want to, I guess, point out in paragraph 179 of the consent decree is the requirements of the sergeants who are assigned to internal affairs. The sergeants who are assigned to internal affairs are really the cream of the crop. These are the officers who day in and day out investigate their own, and who have high integrity, who do not have discipline on their records. They take this job very seriously. So while some of those concerns may be for the officers who are on patrol or who are in the districts, these are our officers who are in the office day in and day out, and they do watch these and take this very seriously, because a minor slip up and they could be out of this unit.
Okay. Thank you for that. I just wanted to ask those few questions because we want to be there.
Yes, I agree.
Do you guys want to say?
That's the questions that we had discussed. I
Do you have
think
any other questions?
no, that was it. Basically, how you know that they're retaining the information and will they be held accountable?
Yeah, that was like, I think that was our primary, concern watching the videos.
And then just so everyone's clear too, this is specific to the trainings in this will be the internal affairs sergeants that would be getting these. So that's who's going to be receiving this training or who is currently receiving the training.
And you and I as well.
Yes.
We also take those trainings.
Okay, so moving on to the Savage Training Group, which is internal affairs investigative course.
This is the one we want to do, right?
Correct. We do not have access to this yet. All we have is the syllabus. In talking to the vendor, they are willing to modify their syllabus specific to the course objectives, especially number 1, which is actually the California government. They would change that to Ohio law. But that's all pending us going with this vendor for the annual internal affairs training. Again, a 24-hour course that has the objectives are describing the framework to conduct thorough internal affairs from incident to adjudication, describe the content and sequencing of the investigatory questions that should and should not be asked, and describe how fair and thorough internal affairs investigations process can mitigate criminal, civil, and administrative liability. So those are the main objectives of this course. Again, we don't really have much information outside of the syllabus because they're not going to give us their training until we pay for it. So we'd be happy to answer any questions related to that as well.
So I guess we see you've described listed the objectives of the course. From you all's standpoint, from the CDP standpoint, I'm gonna say what's the objective because you just read the objectives, but essentially, does it seem like the goal of this is for basically for these supervisors to be able to have a clear understanding of like maybe their job duties?
So yeah,
Or be able to like articulate that and just.
So I'd say that there's multiple reasonings for the course. So obviously, again, when we go back to compliance with consent decree 181 requires us to have annual internal affairs training. This course would satisfy annual internal affairs training. Obviously, we're interested in best practices across the nation. We have external vendors come in yearly, different vendors to try out to see what everyone's doing across the nation. And when doing research, Savage Training Group has a pretty good reputation in terms of what's going on nationwide, best practices for internal affairs investigations. I would say that, yes, our investigators that we currently have are already very well versed in internal affairs function. They've been doing it. They do it on a daily basis. They're already assigned cases, but this is just another training perspective that they can have to see what everyone's currently doing and kind of sharpen the tools that they have in internal affairs investigations.
Question, so this will be a certificate of attendance only, or would this be a hands-on
No,
process, or?
so there's a couple options that we have, like if depending on what the vendor decides, like if we open this up to not just Cleveland Division of Police Internal Affairs, but surrounding like Sheriff's Department, or if they want to bring the vendor here and they want to have other people attend it, there's different prices based on that. But no, this is a full-on 24-hour class where they'd come, we'd have a room set up for them at our training academy to teach it. And then at the end of it, it's my understanding that there's some kind of comprehension understanding, whether that's tabletop exercises or a formal exam at the end of the course and then you receive a certification.
And then if we go with this, then this would be something that would happen annually. This training?
So that's definitely a possibility. Right now, for compliance purposes, I think we're looking at potentially just for 2025 now, depending on how the course is. And maybe we could always invite them back. Like I said, that's kind of where we got with Daigle. Daigle we started doing 2 to 3 years ago, and then we've just kind of re-upped that certification. But yes, that's the plan. Is if we want to go with, if it's good training, then that would satisfy our annual training yearly.
Okay.
So it's kind of like almost like a trial run for them to kind of
Yeah,
see,
basically.
like, test it out to see if it works. If it
Mhm.
works, maybe you keep it. If it doesn't work, then maybe you move on to
Yeah.
look for something else.
And if it gets approved all the way through the DOJ, then obviously, we would have, if we didn't like it, we wouldn't have to go with it again after we used it the first year, but we would still get compliance for that first year if it was approved. So if at the end of 2025, they're assessing us, they'd say, oh, well, you had IA annual training, that satisfies compliance. Regardless, if we want to go with someone else next year, we would at least hopefully get compliance for
For
that year.
that year.
So just like a logistical question.
Mhm.
So clearly we don't have the training because this is all they give you until you purchase. I'm just trying to think about the steps of like how we would like move this piece along. So if this committee and then the commission approves this, then you purchase it. But then once you have access to whatever you purchase, I'm trying to think about where we come in as a group. Do you then come back to us to say, hey, this is what they've given us for more feedback? Because I mean, we're approving like a outline.
Yeah.
So I know you guys we've seen what you see.
Yeah.
But in order to get to the actual curriculum and the
Mhm.
content, we would have to approve it.
That's correct. So we would, once, if you approve moving forward with this, then we would most likely have to submit it to you for you to view. If you would like to do that, then that's how we would
Right.
proceed. Again, but we are in June of 2025 too, and we need to get compliance for 2025. So hopefully we can get Savage online and get their specific outlines and curriculum to you. I think, honestly, I think at this point we if we're already paying them, they already created, I think we would still go through the training, but still submit it to the CPC.
So right now you're saying that we don't have a training for this
No.
particular, okay.
Yeah, because they would still modify this current course to make it specific to Ohio because their law is based off of California. So they would still have to like do the research on our laws here related to Miranda and everything like that. And then they would have to, customize the training. And then we would get a curriculum based on that. And then I guess we could come back in front of the commission. But if the commission or the committee said, we don't really like it and we've already paid for it, then we probably still have to go through with the training because the city's paid for it. So that's kind of just the process right now.
Outside of compliance.
So what's the timeline for them to modify it to fit the city department?
I have to get back with the vendor to figure that out, but I know in terms of for them to do the logistics to get here to facilitate it, we were looking at potentially like September, October, but their schedule is filling up. So I don't know that we still have to go through the whole process with budget to even, get the money taken care of. So that could take some time. So yeah, this one's not paid for. No, this one's not. The other one is paid for. It's an annual subscription that we've been utilizing for the last 3 years. We just haven't gotten any compliance credit for it. Savage is something new to try to satisfy internal affairs annual training. But again, they can't provide us with anything other than what they provided us for because they would be giving us your proprietary, copyrighted stuff. So that's kind of the bind that we're in right now. So if we move forward with them, we'd have to go through the budget process. And then at that point, they'd say, hey, we got the check. Now we'll start developing the curriculum for you. Here's the curriculum that we plan on presenting to your, the Division of Police. And then we would come back to you guys, I would assume. And then, that's where we would have to wait.
So actually, we're not talking until year 2026, somewhere probably the first quarter, March of 2026, because we're already in June.
Mhm.
And so when you're talking about they have to come in and look at the process that we use, interpret our laws to fit whatever their training process is, their material, then they're gonna have to fit it, the material for the training. So we're looking at first of the year. I'm gonna say the first quarter.
Yeah, I mean, we won't know until, like I said, until the whole budget process takes, like, their schedule's already filling up anyway, so if we don't get them an answer in the next couple months,
EOP 2026.
yeah.
And I guess like, I'm just like thinking, well, as of right now, the monitoring team and the DOJ are still gonna be involved with this as well. So we have to consider that in the process. Sometimes that can go really quickly depending on what it is, but sometimes it can take a while. So I'm thinking the committee should consider, you know, we know that this is just a lesson plan, but it's also not the final time we'll get a chance to weigh in on this. But if we're thinking about a process and timing, what Commissioner Mason said about, we might be looking at the first quarter of 2026 when they're really gonna get off the ground and be able to do this. We might wanna approve this so that they can move on to the next step.
Just looking at the outline, it kind of covers a lot of the
Yeah.
things that you all were looking for. And so you'll get the credit, not for this year, but for next year for this, for Savage.
I just want to clarify one thing. So when talking to the vendor still believes that they would be able to update the curriculum and facilitate the course by the fall of 2025. If our budget process all took, if we were able to get it approved through budget and all that, wishful thinking. But that's kind of, they still believe that they'd still be able to modify this to Ohio law and facilitate that if we could get that approved over the course of the next couple months. So whether that happens or not,
Lieutenant Zyka has spoken with the Savage Group many times since we've submitted this, believe in March of this year, to the CPC. And so Lieutenant Zyka has kept in contact with them and given them updates of where we have been. So we are on their radar as well. But even if we can't get it done by the end of 2025, we need to have this at some point. So it's better that we start the ball rolling, and then if we get it done in 2025 or the first quarter 2026, it's the way it is, but we have to get it done.
The reality is that this probably wouldn't make it to the next semi-annual report. Because we're already we're in the middle of that next cycle anyway.
But
So
it just ended at the beginning of this month.
No,
Or do you mean the
the
next one?
semi-annual reports are, by the time the report is released and by the time there's a meeting for it, it's probably already been passed, we're already into the next cycles.
Mhm. Yes.
So, so my, recommendation for the committee would be to approve this so that they can move, because there's plenty of spaces where we need to interject or anything that we'll have a chance to, but it seems like if we don't approve this, then it's just gonna slow
And keep us out of compliance.
things down. So we can start moving towards compliance. So would someone like to make a motion to basically approve the
Savage curriculum.
training group?
All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Savage Training Group.
I second it.
All right, is there any discussion? So we'll just take a vote. Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Mason,
Yes.
and just in case, Commissioner Adams is a yes. So what we just approved, not the training itself, if anybody lost track of the conversation, but essentially we've given sort of a green light to move on to purchase the training, so that the group, Savage Training Group, can start the process of catering the training that they use for Cleveland or Ohio, based on Ohio law. So we'll send that over to.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you. Anything from us?
I guess one question would be, our first training, the Daigle,
Which one is, oh, The way y'all pronounce it throw me off.
Yeah, sorry. DLG is probably.
DLG.
Let's just say call it DLG,
So I'm
right?
looking for data, like, where's data?
The DLG trainings. So really the only thing before you is, I mean, this is training that, Internal Affairs Unit has done before I started on as superintendent. We are going to continue with the program because all of these modules, or the majority of the modules, have been extremely valuable for our sergeants, the lieutenant, and now myself as superintendent. And the only thing that we would request from you is an approval so we could get that through to the consent decree and get credit for that, which was the suggestion of Monitor Assistant Chief Boston.
Okay. So we're looking at, you said paragraph 179 or
181.
So 181 for, not everyone has the consent decree in front of them. So paragraph 181 of the consent decree reads that internal affairs investigators also will receive annual training related to conducting misconduct investigations that is adequate in quality, quantity, type, and scope. So just so everyone's on the same page about what paragraph we're talking about in the consent decree.
And this DLG would go towards quantity.
Okay.
And I understand, the perspective of, I just want to be clear, we're not getting certifications, we're receiving certificates of completion for these courses. So again, a lot of these are informational and educationally based on current best practices with case law that's going on, case law updates. We know how laws are always changing. So basically our sergeants can actually review the case law updates, and it's just one extra aspect to our training that we think's been beneficial thus far. So.
Okay. So question, in terms of timelines, because I will just be honest, I've viewed some of them, but I haven't been able to view like all of them.
Yeah.
So I almost like would want to view some more. I don't know how the other commissioners feel, but I don't know like what, like would us waiting another month to do the DOG training, would that make a difference if we?
No, because we're utilizing it anyways.
Okay.
We're going through the training. We're going through the trainings. IAU's gone through the trainings for a few years. It's just to get credit for the quantity portion on the consent decree.
So if they're using it, then you all certified from last year?
No,
No.
it's never, this has just been something that IAU's done on their own.
So we never got the credit. for
That's
it.
right. We've never gotten credit for it.
Yeah, but it won't be like official in terms of them, like, because what happens is, I would assume that what the police accountability team is probably doing right now is they're probably looking at the 400 plus paragraphs of the consent decree, and they're probably trying to figure out which of those paragraphs that they are in compliance with, or which ones they're not. And so this, I think, they realize that using this is getting them into compliance with another paragraph, and so they need the credit from us.
So, well, what happened is that I talk with Assistant Chief Boston because she handles the internal affairs reviews. So she and I speak monthly about moving up internal affairs compliance levels. And she's the one who pointed out and said, in my monthly reports, you guys are doing these trainings, but you're not getting any credit for it. So please submit it to the CPC and see if they will approve it. So then you can get credit for the quantity portion on paragraph 181.
There's definitely a lot there. I will tell you. We went into the modules and we just thought it was going to be like, it was like 6 or 7, 8, whatever we had. And then you like click on the module and then it's like,
There's
6
like
more.
4 or 5 videos.
It's two
And
and a half
honest-
hours.
And honestly,
Move it forward.
and since I talked to you the last time
Yeah.
when we got your account set up, I called yesterday to verify, hey, when does our subscription end? And she's like, you guys have the unlimited subscription. Let me add the other one. So then we had 7 initially. They were like,
Yeah.
oh, I see the 7 of them. Now there's like, a lot.
I think
Wow.
definitely there's
But
a quantity.
we don't have time to do all. We just kind of pick the targeted ones that we think, hey, this is relevant to use of force right now. We just had a case that's similar to this. We want to assign it based on the case. So we pick and choose which ones we're going to assign. some of them aren't relevant to the internal affairs function. We get that.
Just have access to it.
Yeah, and if my sergeants or whoever wants to do one in their free time on the weekend or while they're cutting the grass or something, you know, any training's good training. So we just figured this is just one aspect to getting
Okay.
towards compliance.
All right. But we're okay. I think we just want to just look around a little
Okay.
bit
Great.
more, but I can definitely say there's a
Yeah. we were-
there's a
Even
large
today,
quantity
we looking at-
there for sure. I don't have anything else about. Is there anything else with the DOG or?
I have a question. So you said you added more. You already gave us the, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so
You already
if,
gave us.
I don't know if you have if it's up on the laptop, if not, but the same way that you search, if you go to, are you have it up?
Yeah, right. Okay. So yeah, let's just slide over here. Oh, darn, sorry. That's one more.
Look at all these tabs. though.
Yeah, like you got. Listen, I think I pulled up a consent decree so fast. It's in one of these tabs. You got. All right, so courses.
Mhm.
Don't be telling my business.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So remember before it was only 7,
Yeah.
now it's broken down by category. So you have accreditations, you have leadership training, you have legal updates. Half of the Guardians like legal updates that we have, like that's a 52-week, like 5-minute, 8-minute video that you do daily. But there's all different types of training in there now that we had that we didn't know we had. So
Wow.
now we kind of, me and the superintendent will sit down and then we'll assign like, okay, like, you know, let's assign one that's related to use of force, or let's
Mhm.
assign a leadership one or human resources. Let's
De-escalation.
yeah. So again, finish whatever you want to do. You know, go there. It's just some of them are quick and some of them are 4 hours. So
Yeah, that's the one we picked. Oh man.
We was like, we are not gonna finish this training.
Yeah. I learned about the stress cycle though.
yeah.
So I think that's all. I don't know if anybody else has anything, but if you guys can just maybe just give us another month to kind of poke around and we'll bring this back for next month.
Great, thank you.
And I guess while I know we were talking about that, but I think, I don't know if you all can maybe stick around for this new business. I know that Commander Hernandez sent us, we were supposed to meet, but she couldn't meet.
Bless you.
But she did send what we wanted to do was have like, you guys are from internal affairs, so maybe you don't really know. Do you guys? Yeah, I was
Finish your
thinking,
thought.
because I was thinking like their input on the prioritizing of the trainings, but then I'm not sure how heavily
Oh, yeah.
involved they are.
Yeah, I don't know what the
Portion.
division as far as Commander Hernandez wants in
Okay.
terms of priority. I know for us, Savage is a priority, so we can get the ball rolling on the payment. But
Right.
whatever other ones are pending, I don't think that
Yeah,
we're
we
privy to
wouldn't
any of
know.
that.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's all we need then.
Great, thank
you
you
all
so
so
much.
Thank you so much.
And if you have any questions, you could email us. You know, we'll respond. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I guess
We just prioritize.
you have the new business. So I think,
The new business, well done.
so it looks like we've got 3 additional trainings.
Added on.
And then there's 2 that require like a timeline to be provided. So it seems like there's 3 trainings, this wellness CIT training,
Mm-hmm.
which they would like feedback from by the 30th, June 30th.
Okay.
Then there's the integrated, thank you. There's the integrated reality-based training, which they would like feedback back by the 30th as well, June. And then there's the community and problem-oriented police training, where they would want feedback by the 30th as well.
Sound like those are the ones that we need to prioritize. And
Right. So I think we just focus on those.
Yeah.
We can keep viewing DOG. This sounds
Wonder
like
how many sections and modules in there, because I was gonna say, if we all took one,
I'm not gonna be able to review all of that, that's a lot.
Let's see what we got here.
So I was looking at the CIT and I wasn't,
I'm just looking at it.
CIT.
I think I put all of these in a training folder. Cause I'm thinking is if we can just. look
I
at it really
apologize for
quickly.
grabbing the wrong laptop. In a rush.
Wellness. I put them in the folder.
So they're like,
Training folder.
but they're extensive for DLG, and that's a lot.
Do we wanna perhaps just like pick one each and
So I
then
was
we could
thinking-
just like, I'm just thinking that we could just pick one and then we could create like a share, like I could do like a OneDrive, like a share folder,
For notes.
and then we can put
All right.
each one of them in the folder for our feedback, and then
Mhm.
that doesn't, if we are primarily responsible for one, it wouldn't mean
You
that
can't,
you still
right.
can't help out with the other ones.
Right.
But I feel like that would be maybe the best way to
Stick
get
to our
started on.
timeline.
And then we could maybe, like, depending on how long it takes, we might be able to rotate them.
Yeah. I like that idea.
So I don't know. So the three options are, we've got the wellness CIT training, integrated reality-based training, and the community and problem-oriented police training. So
I'll take the. You got it.
anybody got preference?
I'm gonna do it with the integrated,
Do what?
what is it?
Integrated.
Reality-based training. Do you have experience with that?
I'm not sure.
This is basically like the district. I mean the police department has been moving towards instead of just having officers like watch trainings, they're more interactive.
Okay.
So like they'll take like scenarios, like
Mhm.
like real scenarios that they may go through, and then they go through and practice them. So that would be the training. That would be that training.
That's that community and,
The other one. Integrated.
That would be the integrated reality
Okay.
base.
I'll take community,
So you would take CPOP.
yes.
So we'll do CPOP will be Commissioner Miller. And then do you have a preference, Commissioner Mason, for either the wellness CIT training or the integrated reality base?
I'll look at the wellness.
Okay.
That's, I think.
And I'm pretty sure I created a folder for these,
That other one would've been great.
and then I'll take
CIT
the,
wellness.
No,
That's-
the other one, the integrated, just because you know.
No, that is the integrated base training. That's
They two
one.
different ones, so wellness and integrated are two different ones.
Which one did I say?
you said the wellness.
Wellness,
You want the reality base?
Because that's what I was thinking about.
Okay, you take that one.
Check that and then see if, because I know they were working with Tri-C at
okay,
their facility out there. So,
at the Western campus.
yeah,
So you want to take the reality base and then I'll take the CIT?
yeah.
So just so we know, so for now, the wellness CIT training, I'll take the lead on that. The integrated reality-based training, Commissioner Mason will take the lead on that. And the community and problem-oriented police training, CPOP training, Commissioner Mason will take the lead on that, and we'll all just kind of,
Miller.
I'm sorry, Miller, sorry. And we'll just together get these done. And so what'll happen is they want them by the 30th, but I think the next meeting is the first Tuesday
It is.
of every month.
I'm
So-
out of town for the next 2 weeks. I mean, I'll look at it, but
And you'll be fine.
As long as we have your feedback, right?
And
I'm
then,
back on the 16th.
so that would mean that we would bring these back to the committee but July 1st.
Oh, no, I'm back.
She'll be back on July 1st. So yeah, so that means they want on the 30th, we literally will meet the next day.
Perfect.
So, and then I think I don't know if there's anything else, but I don't have anything else.
Yeah, that's it, because we just discussed that, so, yeah.
So, anything else?
Let's get some more commissioners on here, but yeah.
I know. Well, meeting adjourned.
Meeting adjourned. I like it smooth.
So what I'll do is I'll make sure that stuff is in the folders,
Okay.
and then I'll put